Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Crusader Kings 2. It is I, the Golden Joeblivion, and we are back once again at the beginning of a new game. A lot of you will probably understand why we're starting another new series, because our Dance of Dragons series has ended in a complete calamity. I failed to take the Iron Throne for, who was it, King Aegon? I don't even remember his name. He wasn't that important to me. That's probably why we didn't win. But we are here again with a new series. When one series ends, another one needs to begin, and we are back here to choose our new series. And I actually know exactly what I'm going to do this time. And I think it's kind of ironic, maybe it's not ironic, but it does kind of make sense, that we played the Dance of Dragons last time, and I failed as one of the Targaryens. I think it would only be just if we were to play the Dance of Dragons again. Apologies if that's too repetitive, but this time we're not going to be playing as a Targaryen. In fact, we're going to be playing as a character I actually really do like, that I've played before. I just never really saw a reason to play this faction, and that is we're going to play as Dalton, the Red Kraken. I really like playing as the Ironborn. They're a lot of fun. Unfortunately, just on the channel, I never really saw a reason to play as them, just because, unlike really any other house you can play as, with every other house you can have some kind of great overarching kind of a plan, an objective. You know, oh, we want to conquer the Iron Throne, or we want to conquer all of Westeros, or we want to have I don't know, a house member sitting in every region across Westeros, or hey, we want to invade Essos or some shit. With the Greyjoys, it never really made sense to me, because when I play the Greyjoys, I don't really like conquering Westeros, because when you conquer Westeros as the Ironborn, what ends up happening is you have nothing to raid. Like, you can't... The Greyjoys are all about... Well, not just the Greyjoys, but the Ironborn as well are all about their raiding and reaving. And if you conquer all of Westeros, you pretty much have nothing left to raid. You have to take Westeros and you have to raid, like, different continents. And to me, that seems like a lot of work and not really that interesting. So for this one, we're probably not going to be conquering Westeros. You know, if you guys really want to see it done, let me know in the comments section. I can probably make it happen. But what I want to do is, I got a request from a subscriber a couple weeks ago suggesting that it'd be cool if I made some kind of tutorial-ish series, just to kind of give people you know, a walk around of how you're supposed to play, as if that doesn't make me sound conceited. But I guess I know enough to give some idea of how to play the game, and I'm not a super lame commenter, so I figure we can play as the Greyjoys, particularly Dalton, the Red Kraken, who's a badass, and I can show you guys kind of the more basic stuff. I don't know how detailed I'm going to go with that, but I guess it's going to be the general gist, is I'm going to play around, have fun, and if you guys want to learn a thing or two about how to play the Game of Thrones, then you can definitely check this series out. Let's learn a little bit more about our Red Kraken. Lord of the Iron Isles and head of House Greyjoy, Lord Dalton was commonly known as the Red Kraken. When the Dance of Dragons began, both of the factions, the Blacks and the Greens, entreated the Red Kraken to join them. The Greens would offer him a place in the Great Council if he could sink the Valyrian fleet, while the Blacks simply asked him to kill their enemies. Oh, okay. One of the Greens was House Lannister, however, whose land sat off the coast of the islands and its armies were away. And we know from the lore that the Red Kraken, I don't know if they sided with the Blacks or the Greens, but I do know Dalton Greyjoy led his fleet, the Iron Fleet, and they sank the Lannister fleet and sacked Lannisport. So, you know, it's not an easy feat, and it is impressive. Although I think he could have done a lot better. But after that, supposedly he ruled the Sunset Sea, which is essentially all this ocean here, from well, you know, the lands north of the Wall all the way down here to the Arbor. This is what was considered the Sunset Sea. And I think 2 to 3 years later, after the War of the Dragons, they told Dalton he couldn't reave anymore, and he said, I refuse, and he was assassinated. So maybe we can avoid that this time. Well, there's some other stuff we'll have to worry about, but we'll worry about that when we get into the game. So let's see, I got him selected, right? Yes, I got him selected. We'll just start, and I'll just load all my rules. I guess for your guys' sake, the game rules are probably worth going through. I find that a lot of these I don't actually have to change, but some of these you do. So let me see. CK2 version warning, I always have that off just because if these things are incompatible, the game might still play, but it's going to constantly warn you that the version is wrong, and it's just perpetual. It keeps telling you that, so, and it becomes really annoying after a while. A lot of these spoilers you can actually leave. I see spoiler remover. I leave it off because I don't care about spoilers. This doesn't bother me. I tend to lower education costs because if you have a lot of children and you have it set to normal, it gets really expensive educating all your children. And you think, why, if you're a king and you have 400 gold in your treasury and you've got 4 kids and it costs 200 gold to give them the best education, it's like, well, why is this much? Yeah, really, the education of my children costs half of the crown's treasury? That's a little over the top, so I set it to low. Major epidemics, I just keep that as default. Slavery on. Default. Border disputes off because I don't think I'm using Jade Dragon, so that wouldn't really work. Shattered Retreat is probably one of the most important things, and I keep that off. Because if you have Shattered Retreat on, what it does is anytime you lose a battle or if the AI loses a battle, their army becomes kind of invincible, and they're giving kind of a path to a location that's hella far away from the battle. Which never really made sense to me because why would you not just pursue them? In any other situation, you would be able to pursue a crushed army. So I leave that off. And plus it makes it so that that first battle you fight is so much more important because if you lose, the enemy can pursue you. So it's really important to win that first battle. Siege Assault's on, Events on, de jure Drift. I don't really like my de jure stuff drifting. It just makes it really hard to keep track of stuff. But I mean, maybe it's fun. I don't know. I haven't really tried it. Culture conversion, default, historic, rating. You can turn rating on for everybody, but then you're going to have everybody rating. You're going to have, I don't know, the Westerosi. What is their religion? The 7? Yeah, the 7. They're going to be rating stuff, so that's going to be weird. Interfaith marriages. Yeah, I figured, why not? A lot of this is on default. Diplomatic range, I tend to keep on. Makes it seem a bit more legit. Assassinations, I do plots only. Direct action makes for some weird option where you can click it and intrigue, and it seems very bizarre. Way of life dueling, this stuff I wouldn't actually change at all because I have played around with the dueling because I wanted to make I wanted to play as a character who dueled a lot, but unfortunately making it less restricted or unrestricted didn't actually change how dueling worked. In fact, I think it broke it in most cases. There's one more. There's one more I wanted. White Walkers. I actually turned White Walkers off, and this is really important because if you keep... There's a bug. I don't know if it's around anymore, but there was a bug with the White Walkers where when they showed up, even if they didn't conquer everything, even if they were, quote, defeated, end quote, your lands would still get the harsh winter modifier, and it would never go away. It just would never go away. So that really sucks. So I keep White Walkers off, unfortunately. Dual outcome randomness normal. I thought, oh, here we go. Battlefield dual occurrence, more frequent. I like there to be lots of duels in battles, which is great if you've got a general or a character who's really good at dueling. Not so great when you have a commander who doesn't know how to duel, because then the odds of them getting killed in battle is a lot higher. And I think that's it. Colonization cost, I keep at normal because I want it to be kind of expensive to colonize a place. Fabricating claims, Valyrian steel revocation. Valyrian steel can only be seized from a prisoner if it's either an ancestral blade of the captor's house or the blade was previously stolen from the captor. I put this on unrestricted because if you're my prisoner, I don't care what claims I have on your Valyrian steel. I can still take it. And since we're the Greyjoys, we're going to be doing that a lot, so... I think that's everything. What is this? Dynastic Coat of Arms. Any ruler who belongs to a dynasty that has access to the dynamic coats of armed systems will use their house sigil for their primary titles. Dynasty head. Only the ruler who is the dynasty head of the house has access to the okay. Off. Dynamic coats will not be used. Let's just keep it at default. I think I know what it does, but I'm not entirely sure, so we're going to leave it like that. Alright, so... Okay, so whenever you play... Alright, well, I guess first things first, I get the, what is this, Greyjoy Bloodline. The Bloodline, this is a little sub-mod, and if you don't have it, I highly suggest you get it. It seems to be really compatible. Like, I have no problems with it, and it is great because it shares a little bit of information about your house. You get a little bit more prestige, general opinion goes up and stuff like that. And, you know, you have the respected bloodline of one of the great houses of Westeros, so it's really, really great. And it carries through all your children, you know, through the genetics. And another reason I got it was because I found that when I played as the Lannisters without the bloodlines, my Lannisters would eventually lose their golden hair, which I thought was kind of silly. Especially when I was deliberately marrying other blonde people, just somehow their hair would change color. But with the bloodline traits, it actually takes certain traits about the family. So, for example, the Lannisters' golden hair, and actually applies that to their children. At least I think that's how it works. So it's really, really useful. And then we're just going to get this out of here. Just a little welcome page. Going to just get through here. If you need any information about what your ruler can do, based off of their culture and their religion, it'll show it all right here. I generally close this because you can get the same information over here in your character tab. You get your little religion here, Drowned God. We've got our government type, which in Westeros, or the Game of Thrones, since I play in Westeros so much, it's mainly going to be feudal. The further east you go, you're going to encounter some weird government types, like merchant republics and tribal and stuff like that. Am I, Okay, I thought I had the submod where it eliminated Essos, but it didn't, so that's great. And then for a lot of these kind of bookmarks, a lot of them are going to have scripted events. So for Dalton, I get, what do? I get proposed to side with Rhaenyra Targaryen or King Aegon II. As dragon fights dragon in the dance, Queen Rhaenyra has sent word to Pike. She does not have need of the Iron Fleet in the Narrow Sea, and instead encourages us to raid and pillage the holdings of her enemies. Let's see. At last a chance for the Ironborn to reeve on the Greenlands once again. So, at this point, the Iron Islands have kind of been subjugated by, well, the Iron Islands pretty much go through periodic subjugations from essentially the rest of the continent, which the Ironborn refer to as the Greenlands. Because the Iron Islands aren't really all that green. I know they have green here on the map, but I think in the lore they're just rocks. They really can't grow anything on the islands. But the rest of the continent is green, and it can, you know, you can actually farm here. And because they can farm, the Ironborn believe that the people that farm there are somehow weaker than them. Maybe. But she's giving me the chance to raid the west. Let's see. We'll join Lady Rhaenyra of Dragonstone in our offensive wars, and she'll like me a little bit more. She'll like me a little bit more. So, I mean, the nice thing is that we'd be able to raid her enemies without any kind of repercussion other than her enemies are going to hate us. But when the war's over, she's just going to tell us to stop raiding anyways. And I'm not sure if we'd actually be able to resist them, because I think at this point in the history of Westeros, I think the Iron Throne has a large enough fleet to be able to land on the Iron Isles. If you play, I think, during Aegon's conquest, since, you know, the Iron Throne is being founded super early, they really don't have a fleet. So whenever people declare war on you, they can't even get to your islands. So you kind of win by default. But I don't think that's the case here. The affairs of the Greenlanders are not my concern. Well, you know what? Rhaenyra already doesn't like us, and making her like us isn't really going to be useful, so I'm not going to concern myself with the war right now, which gives us the freedom to really raid wherever we please. So that should be good for us. Alright, get through some of these little high priority messages and low priority messages. Alright. So low priority messages oftentimes are useless. I don't even check those. You'll get a lot of them, and you don't need to go through them all. It's the higher priority ones that can sort of be important. Received new nightfall, and some dude arrived in my court. Alright, so if we want to go down here to my treasury, I can see I have my Valyrian sword. Nightfall is a Valyrian steel sword that belonged to House Harlaw towards the end of the 3rd century. It is a moonstone pommel. Very nice. Let's see. Monthly prestige, martial, vassal opinion, and a personal combat skill. What is Dalton's personal combat skill? 110. Wow. That is impressive. He's got a lot of children. I think most of them are bastards, though. Or, no, they're child of concubines. So they're automatically disinherited. Ah, so children with concubines do not inherit. That's concerning. Another thing about the Ironborn, and it's not specific to just to Ironborn, it's going to be to, I mean, if you play as a pirate character, you can take concubines. While it seems like a great idea, I have had too many games where I've played as Dalton, and he ends up becoming a eunuch because one of his concubines, let's see, they get revenge for being made into concubines, with a butter knife. So I'm actually going to set these concubines aside because I don't really want Dalton to become a eunuch. Set them all aside. Okay, so now we don't have to worry about becoming a eunuch, but Dalton needs to marry. He needs to marry somebody, and I'd like to marry somebody who's actually an Ironborn. So I'm going to go to the little Find Character tab down here, search all, and we're going to look for a suitable female with my religion group. Right, and we're going to sort it by age, because we need a young female. And we've got, who do we have here? We've got Ynys Merlin, Lorenza Harlaw. So there's some decent candidates. So as far as choosing a mate goes, all right. So for CK2, this goes for the vanilla game and the mods. You want a really suitable mate. Whether you're playing as a female character or you're playing as a male character, you want a suitable mate. Now, what does Joeblivion look for in a suitable mate? Well, I look for a mate that is young. Younger is better. And you want to look at their traits. So what stands out to me is you got Hara here, who is 17. She's a year older than Dalton, which is fine, but she also has a lustful, and that gives her plus 20% fertility, which gives her increased chances of having more babies. However, that does have a drawback, and that means that she is more likely to cheat on you. Now, you can counter that if you have a high enough intrigue. Well, I say counter it. You'll have a higher chance of discovering infidelity, which is really important for discovering children that might not actually be yours. And let's see, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 6 kids. 6 kids right now, which is decent, but none of them can inherit, so we need to have a legitimate wife. Other traits you want to look for in your mate are going to be genetic traits, which I'm not seeing a lot of. I'm seeing 0 genetic traits. When I find one, I'll let you... I mean, that's... Oh, she's my aunt. That'd be weird. I don't want that. Nope. Don't marry your aunts, guys. Don't marry your aunts. Right, so I can't see any genetic traits, which is kind of bizarre. But we're talking genetic traits... Wait a minute. Why would you marry your own daughter? Weird. Weird. Not gonna do that. I don't even know why that's an option. So genetic traits like if your mate is tall or strong or smart or attractive, these traits are genetic and can be inherited by your children. So you kind of want to find mates that do that. So you know what? I might actually change to any religion. And what would be a good trait for the Greyjoys to have? Strong. Strong, definitely. Definitely strong. And we've got Marnie. So this trait here... See, look at all that good shit. Martial, diplomacy, fertility, health, all good. It's all good. And it's especially useful if you're going to be, oops, zoomed out by accident. Especially useful if you're going to be raiding. Right. Unfortunately, there's not many... So, I mean, we've got Marnie here, but in all honesty, her physical appearance will also... affect the children. Let's see. Maybe we can find something better. Maybe we can find something better. So if we pick Genius, and if you ever want to know what traits are genetic, be sure to go onto the CK2 wiki. It's really, really quick and easy to find out which traits are genetic. Now I really like this. I really like this. We've got 2 candidates who don't look that bad and are actually geniuses, which is insane. Now, the odds of genius traits being inherited between the parents and children are generally pretty low for a Game of Thrones. I think it's set up in the game where you're not really going to inherit genius. I mean, when you do, it's fantastic. But the odds of you doing it are pretty damn low. In other mods, however, like Elder Kings, for example, my Dawnguard campaign, I've got a female woman who is a genius, and I think 4 out of her 5 kids are geniuses. And like 6 out of 9 of her grandchildren are geniuses too, so it's really, really powerful. So I'm gonna see if Bridget can marry Dalton. Yes. Okay. Normally this wouldn't be allowed because it would be considered an interfaith marriage, and they would say no to that. But I think it all depends on what is that her dad? It's not her dad. It's her lord. It sees Bridget here doesn't actually have any family, but she is a courtier for Lord Joseph of Stony Shore, and I think he's willing to accept the marriage. Generally because, let's see again, yes, because he likes us. And because he's not a zealot. If he was a zealot, he would say no. So we're gonna marry Bridget, because she looks decent, and she's a flippin' genius. So I'm actually turn this thing on. Okay, just gonna keep it slow for right now. Okay, so the first thing I do is we need to get some of this stuff sorted. Great, we're now married, so we got that handled. We need to choose a focus and an ambition. Now, this can be kind of difficult, because you can do a lot of good things with all this stuff here. So you kind of have to think about, what are we going to be doing? What are we doing in the future? Well, I can tell you one thing I want to do right now. Can I host a wedding? No, I can't. Damn. Oh, well, that's fine. So let's choose our focus. War. War seems good. War seems good, especially because I'm going to be raiding a lot. So we're going to pick that, and it's going to give us a crazy 25 martial, or at least it should. And then I think I'm going to pick Fall in Love, and I think it'll give Dalton the chance to fall in love with his wife, because, she's zealous, so she doesn't like us, but it doesn't really matter. But with these little ambitions here, they actually give you, what would you call it? Like scripted events. So you can get a scripted event to fall in love with your wife, which is really great, and it'll give us +1 diplomacy, plus the other ambitions I wasn't really interested in. I probably could have gone through and looked at them for you guys, but I suck at doing this kind of thing, so we're just going to move on past that. Next thing we got to do is set up our council, which most of the time it's going to be set up for us. If you ever play a custom character, I really suggest going through and checking this again, because sometimes, let's say you're playing as a, let's say you're playing as a Valyrian down here on the island of Doku, right? Well, you're going to be a Valyrian, and you probably won't be a Summer Islander, which means you're going to have a council filled with Summer Island gods, worshippers who are also Summer Islanders, and they're not going to like you. So you might want to find people who actually do like you for your culture and your religion and put them in your council, because your council is really important, because they allow you to change laws and things like that. Which is, in all honesty, not a big problem in Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, generally everything is decided by the ruler, which is really, really nice, because there are some mods out there where you start off and your councils have complete power over everything you do, and it makes life a living hell. So your councils can be really, really important. Let's see. And for other things like this, they have to vote on it. They have to vote on all this stuff. So kind of important. Why can't I change this? Is independent ruler, not including temporary Civil War independence. Ah, gotcha. That's why we can't do that. Well, maybe when the war is over, we can declare independence. We'll probably get crushed, but, we can try it. So you guys can see what that's like. Now, as far as my council goes, I don't really want to change anybody. I just want everybody to get to work. So you got your steward, your steward, what is it? Okay, so you got your steward and you got your treasurer. They both use stewardship. But they both do different things. You've got your justiciar, which is a diplomat. you're captain of the fleet. These titles change between every kingdom, so you're going to have different names, but they serve the same purpose. You're captain of the fleet. They're your marshal, and they can train your troops. They can lower revolt risk. They can help you imprison people who might be troublesome, and they get some extra things like they can train children and organize raids. But I don't really use these because the other options are just better. Your spy master, we probably should change our spy master. I mean, he's got 17 skill, so he's considered masterful, but this guy's got 15, so he's also masterful, and he's a loyalist. And the reason why I want my spy master to be a loyalist and have a high opinion of me is because your spy master will help you to find plots that are against your character. So if someone's plotting to kill your character, let's say there's someone plotting to poison Lord Paramount Dalton right now, for whatever reason, your first line of defense is going to be your spy master. And a spy master with a high intrigue is always better than one with low intrigue. And if they like you, there's a higher chance that they're actually going to go out of their way to save you. Now, if you got a spy master that hates you, they could either be indifferent and not try to stop the plot, or they might actually join in the plot, which gives plots a huge bonus in their chances of working. So if, let's say, I know I'm jumping from one scenario to another, but I can tie it all together, I promise. Let's say I wanted to poison this guy, Lord Paramount Grover of the Trident. The easiest way to do that, for me, would be to gain the allegiance of his spy master, or his master of whisperers, or whoever it might be, because they're going to have access where normal courtiers and lords would not. So you want to make sure you've got a very loyal spy master. The second thing you want to do is scheme, because scheme uncovers plots, and it also can discourage and encourage people from joining factions, which maybe we'll get into this episode, but probably not because I'm almost out of time. But we want to set him to scheme so he can discover plots. And let's see, got our drowned man. We could proselytize, which spreads our religion, but I'm not going to do that right now. Instead, I could build zeal. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to perform charity, because that can lower revolt risk, and revolts can get out of hand. Now, your Lord Steward. God, what would you describe the Lord Steward as? I'm not really sure, because let's see, he can oversee the realm, which improves the realm, which makes the prosperity go up. He can collect special taxes, improve defenses, pacify the province, cool shit like that. So I normally pick oversee the realm, but there are certain specific scenarios where I need to improve defenses and pacify the province, etc. So we'll pick oversee the realm. Now your justiciar can be really, really useful and can be really, really useless, depending on your scenario. If you have a character with high dishonorability or tyranny, performing statecraft is perfect for repairing that reputation. So, once you have tyranny, it's not impossible to go away. You can get rid of it if you have a good enough justiciar and they like you. You can also be diplomatic and increase diplomatic relations with really anyone around the world that you have within diplomatic range. Just remember, when you use that, there is the small chance that it can have the opposite effect. But generally, that doesn't happen as much if you have a very good diplomat. Fabricating claims can be really important, especially here in a Game of Thrones, where casus bellis are really limited. So a lot of the wars that go on in Westeros are really, really dependent on what claims people have. I don't think you can forge, you can't fabricate claims on kingdoms, but you can fabricate claims on high lordships, baronies, counties, all of that stuff. But all in all, I tend not to use this option. I like to rely on other casus belli. And then this is one I find very, very useful, and that's sowing dissent. So if you're ever at war with anybody, or if you ever want to mess with a character in another realm, I mean, if you've seen my Golden Lion campaign, I made extensive use of my justiciar sowing dissent in the Reach, because I really, really hated, what was his name? I don't even remember who he was, but he was a gardener who immediately surrendered when Aegon attacked him. And for some reason, the game considered him brave, and I hated that, and I considered him a traitor, so I used Sow Dissent a lot on that guy. And all it does is it makes whoever it is, it sows dissent. It says vassalage opinion lowered, but it all depends on who's the vassal and who's the liege. So it doesn't always work on the character you want, but it more than likely will, especially the higher up the liege is. So it's great if you want to make a bunch of vassals in an opposing kingdom hate their king, essentially. And this actually happens to be one of those times where I don't really need my diplomat. In fact, I don't even really have any enemies at the moment. So you know what I'm going to do? Actually, you know what I can do? Let's use a diplomatic mission. And let's send it to... let's send it here. So that I have the chance to periodically increase my... oh, there we go. With my diplomat there, I'll get a chance of increasing this guy's disposition over time. And I really would like my vassals to like me because my vassals contribute troops to me. And the more they like you, the more they're going to give you their troops. Alright. Vikon, are you the best? Yep, you are the best marshal we can get. So I'm just going to have you train troops in pike so that I have more levies. And, ooh, I can make my wife the treasurer, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. What is her focus? Oh, she doesn't have one. No. What is her ambition? And she has no ambition. So I don't think I'm going to pick her as a treasurer. It would be smart. She does have 16. Also affects the maximum size of your domain. I didn't know that. Interesting. She would be a good choice, but I have a feeling that when you give your wife jobs, oftentimes it makes it harder to have children with them because they're busy off at work. So I'm going to give it to Corwin. And we're going to make you collect taxes. We could oversee construction, but we're not really trying to do... We're not building anything right now. We just want to collect that money. Alright, well, I am all out of time, and we've got a lot more we have to get through, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little kind of tutorial-ish fun series. If you hate it, please let me know, and then I'll stop recording for it, but if you do like it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Crusader Kings 2, Game of Thrones tutorial or something. This has been Dalton Greyjoy, and I have been the Joeblivion. And until next time... See you all later.